getting into the end game. 0 eliminations, right? If we kind of take a look at some of the competitions that happen on some of those smaller regions, those that kind of win FNCSs are placed very, very well. Usually, they have so many eliminations, right? That's kind of like their play style. That's how they get it done. That's how they get the win. But here, being able to kind of adjust, as you can see there, just 11 eliminations over the course of 6 games and still finding yourself in the top 10. That means to me that they're actually getting able to get that storm surge from a distance, which means that there's a strategy based around it. There must have been a ton of prep.
Absolutely. We'll see if they can sort of keep that going, because as we know, with these 12-game formats, the meta evolves as the day, pans out, right? Queasy sort of mentioned it earlier. People freestyle, they figure things out as the games go by. So hopefully these guys can keep up with it.
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting point you bring up that obviously they're getting, it seems like they should have more eliminations, but then you look at the top of the leaderboard, you're like, oh yeah, Peterbot, Pollo, they're kind of like affecting the entire lobby. So 11 eliminations over 6 games, good enough, works for us. We wanted to also highlight Acorn and Cold for you, obviously, just
top of that. But there's a little bit of information on that one that I wanted to go ahead and discuss as well. It was the fact that Thomas was actually in 2nd place. And that's actually really, really impressive, because when we kind of think about it, something that we don't necessarily always talk about is the fact that Peterbot is getting a weapon consistently every single time, right? That mythic rifle. It's something that he will have in his hands every single game. Whereas Thomas kind of has to loot, right? Maybe he won't get a Monarch pistol every single game, right? Not as easy to be consistent when you're not getting the consistent loot that other players are getting, but still in 2nd place for damage dealt.
Right. Might not have the consistent loot, but consistently putting that damage in for sure, right? He was on it throughout the day. And it was just good to see both of them sort of in a really good flow, right? I think when you look at Queasy, he's clearly feeling very confident about the game plan and the strategy moving throughout the game. We spoke to him after the tournament yesterday, right? And he sort of was VOD reviewing, looking back at their games. And one thing he's noted that I thought was really interesting was he felt coming into the competition, their mid games was going to be their strong point. Like mid games would be easy. It was just about figuring out what they do in end game. Whereas yesterday, it felt like it was the opposite. Their end games were magnificent, whereas mid games at times could be a bit scrappy. And so seeing if they can work on that, they should be even better today.
Okay. Well, guess what? We can actually hear from Queasy, from Thomas HD, because Adam Savage is standing by with a duo now.
Yeah, I've managed to wrangle a Queasy and a Thomas HD back here, fellas, and I'm keen to talk to you guys. Obviously, yesterday, Queasy, it was a great start to proceeding, 2nd place right now. Did everything pan out as you expected? Anything different to what you kind of came into the Global Championships thinking it might be different?
I mean, we prepared a lot, but I feel like everyone in this global is like kind of hitting their strats. So it was kind of like freestyling plus what we prepared. So we'll see what happens today.
Obviously, mid-game as well, the fellas on the Jets were talking about endgame looked magnificent yesterday, but mid-game today, how do you guys ensure that you capitalize on that as such a pivotal part of your game?
I mean, I feel like our mid-games yesterday was perfect, and I think we're just gonna like stick to the same and like maybe freestyle a little bit, but yeah, I think our mid-games will still be fine today.
We obviously saw back in 2022 Invitational, you guys, when you had to, against the Cami and Seti in that last game, Queasy, you were there, you kind of pushed this today, Peterbot and Pollo, if they get those points early on, can you see you guys doing something similar again? Can you kind of like take the bull by the horns and really try and make it your game?
If 3rd place is far enough, definitely.
I love that. I'm so excited. Thomas, as well, I mean, we all talk about this all the time, about your history in this competition. You've been there 2nd so many times now. We're all desperate, me included. I want you to get this FNCS win. What would it mean for you to actually take away a global championship, 1st FNCS win today?
I mean, it would be crazy, like unreal. Like I would not expect to win on LAN as the 1st FNCS win, but yeah, it will literally complete my career, I feel like, and yeah.
We can't wait to see what happens. Queasy and Thomas, you're going to get ready very soon, but it could happen. 2nd place right now. Later on, it could be 1st. We'll have to wait and see. It's back to Zeke and the fellas.
Queasy, don't you get me excited like that, bro. They start landing on Peterbot and Pollo, I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to pass out like 6 times. Levin's going to have to come over, pick me back up. It's going to be a crazy time. This duo, man, so excited to see them compete, to see the adjustments, because they may even have some secret strats lying in the weights. We have no idea. Let's take a look at that leaderboard, though. We wanted to kind of just talk through some of the talk more through some of the duos we're seeing, rather. In 10th place, we did want to kind of take a moment to double back here. Napoli, Coyote, they're in your 10th place. An Asia team representing and in that top 10. That's what I love to see.
Huge there for the duo, right? Landing all the way up north. And honestly, the place that we kind of saw them mostly throughout the day yesterday was actually fighting over that bunker.
Right, and obviously that bunker is usually claimed by Reet and Ritual. They're accustomed to fighting for it. And when I asked Reet and Ritual about, like, how do you feel fighting those guys, they've naturally, as you'd expect from Reet especially, felt incredibly confident. But the one thing that they made sure to do, and even their coach Sven did this as well, he gave props to Toyota. He said, look, when we're fighting for that bunker, it's not straightforward, we're just going to roll these guys because they're an Asian team. No, Toyota can keep up. Of course, Napoli as well is a player that gets a lot of credit, a lot of hype. So it's good to see these guys repping their region strong, the highest sort of place in smaller region team right now. Hope we can see them stay in that top 10.
And one of the most impressive things for me, and we actually saw, taking a look at some of those highlights right there, getting into the end game, 0 eliminations, right? If we kind of take a look at some of the competitions that happen on some of those smaller regions, those that kind of win FNCSs are placed very, very well, usually they have so many eliminations, right? That's kind of like their play style. That's how they get it done. That's how they get the win. But here, being able to kind of adjust, as you can see there, just 11 eliminations over the course of 6 games and still finding yourself in the top 10.